We appear to have a quorum, so at this time I will call to order the Port Authority meeting for the City of St. Louis for its regularly scheduled meeting held via Zoom on May 11, 2023. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Kay? You're on mute.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Mason?
Did you say Mason? I'm here.
Commissioner Coleman?
Present.
Chair McBride?
Present. And I think we're all feeling the effects of the extra pollen in the air. Moving on to approval of minutes for April 13, 2023 regularly scheduled board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Cone?
Aye.
Chair McBride?
Aye. Motion passes and the minutes are approved. Moving on to resolution 23 PT 13, ratifying actions taken by the board relating to the April 13, 2023 meeting. James, you want to walk us through that, please?
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So the last month, the Port Commission had its first meeting in, I think, about 3 years, where the majority, and in fact, all of the attending commissioners were present in person. The notice and agenda for that meeting was timely and properly posted online and downstairs at the lobby at 1520. However, the notice indicated that the meeting was going to be a virtual meeting, and the general rule is under the Sunshine Law, if the public body meets in person, the public also has to have an opportunity to attend in person. So the notice that was posted for last month's meeting did not give the public an opportunity to attend the in-person meeting in person. So after consultation with council, we recommend the commission ratify the resolutions and the minutes that were approved at the last meeting and all actions taken to date, just so that there's no question as to their validity going forward.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Morrow on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 PT 13.
So moved. Cone.
Second, Mason.
Previous roll.
Been properly moved and seconded with a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Taking up resolution 23 PT 14, that relates to authorizing federal port security grant application. Susan, are you going to walk us through that?
Yes, Lenore K. Sullivan, as of 2015, had 49 cameras extending along, I think from, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, from Biddle to Shoto. And that's been some time ago, and the cameras are now all defunct. So GRG and the Board of Public Service are replacing 30 of those, and we're applying for a grant to replace the rest of them, plus perhaps add some extra fiber, make better connectivity between the cameras and the various police department options. And so the purpose of this resolution is to request your approval to apply for that grant. It's a port security grant application, so obviously the Port Authority can apply for it. It's a federal grant through the FEMA Homeland Security offices.
And it's for cybersecurity. Is that?
It's for the cameras. There's a Homeland Security has created a new division called the cybersecurity. It's a cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency, And so they're trying to get everybody more protected on their software, whatever cyber equipment they have. And so we asked the acronym is CISA, C-I-S-A. So we asked him, the CISA representative, to walk through the area, which he did. And he filed a report, which is part of the grant application. So any of the cable stuff that goes in, any of the network connectivity, all of that stuff will be covered by this security grant application as well. So his report makes our grant application more competitive. And there was no cost for that.
All right, so this isn't CISA, the St. Louis Singer. It's the Cyber and
No.
Infrastructure Security Agency. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How many cameras, we're gonna be responsible for the remaining 19, and then if there's additional funding to increase that number, is that what you said, Susan?
No, we keep the same number of cameras along LKS. There are a couple of other port locations that would benefit from cameras. So we've got cameras proposed in those locations, mostly along the south riverfront, where we have things like chemical tank farms, things like that. The CISA guy looked at those with Mike Bertolini, our IT representative with the city. So the cameras that we're looking at replacing along LKS, and then there were a handful of other items that we're putting into this grant application. When we do apply, if we were to get the funding, we will come back to the Port Commission with the funding and with the funding agreement, so that the Port Commission can have a very specific idea of what the funds will be used for.
Very good. Any questions for Susan on this resolution?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have a particular vendor that you're using for the cameras?
The city, I believe, has Rob might help me with this, but the city has an electronics company that they work with. If we were to get the grant, we would go out for bid. So I don't know if that company would get it, but I believe at the moment the city does have a consultant that does handle that.
And are we still required to have a sign up that says that you're being surveyed? Do we do that?
To be honest with you, I don't know. It's a public open space, so I don't believe there are any signs to that effect.
I don't think that there is, and Matt, you probably know this better than I would with regard to any laws that says that since it is public property, you're not required to tell them that they're under surveillance.
And my understanding is that, yeah, if it's an open and obvious space, like Susan indicated, that there's no signage required.
Okay.
Some people do just because they want those to be aware,
Right.
but
Right, so they would act right, but knowing that
Yeah.
they're under surveillance. All right.
Right.
Susan, you might, sorry.
I said
proceed.
thank you.
Susan, you may have said, were we responsible for paying for these in the past? You said, I think 5 years ago.
So Rob got a port security grant that he applied for in 2013. And so that security grant paid for the 49 cameras that were installed eventually by 2015.
Okay. And are we making any commitment to be responsible for maintenance, or if those cameras go offline or need service?
The city then becomes responsible for looking after those cameras. The current ones I think, have got to the end of their useful life, no matter, technology changes and stuff like that. But the grant does not cover maintenance, so the city would have to do that.
Okay.
And do we know what that number looks like for maintenance?
No, I don't have that number. I can get it for you.
I mean, what do we, I guess, what's the use of the cameras? Are they just after the fact situations? And what are we
They
using the
are-
cameras for?
So originally, original ones were connected to the Real-Time Crime Center, am I right, Rob? And the current ones would have the same connectivity. And so the idea is to have somebody in the Real-Time Crime Center to be watching over this. GRG also has the option to monitor the cameras, the 30 cameras that are going in right now. And then there's also after the fact options.
All right.
Rob's got it.
Rob, your hand's
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I would just add that the option of being able to look at or view the cameras, any one of them, in a real-time situation exists. So if there's an emergency type event that occurs either on the riverfront or on the river itself, the city through the Real-Time Crime Center and any other agency that would have access and permissions to view the cameras could do so. So, but in general, they are not being monitored on a 24/7 kind of basis, but they are available to be monitored if or whenever needed. If there's riverfront festivals and things like that going on, it's possible that the police department would have people monitoring them in real time, but in general, that's not the situation.
And does GRG have the option of monitoring the 19 cameras that we're responsible for?
No, it's the 30 that are going in now. They're paying for a large chunk of that project. VPS, the city is paying for the rest of it, so that with their payment, I guess, comes their options to be able to view those cameras.
Mhm.
So in order to view the cameras, the only thing that really needs to happen is that the police department needs to provide an account and password, basically, in the simplistic terms. And those cameras can be viewed anywhere, basically. It's a federated system. In Chicago, they have, dozens of viewing locations where cameras can be seen based on geography or permissions that are provided. So literally at one time we had the casino had rights to view our cameras for incidents that were happening in and around the casino. The Coast Guard had access to view the cameras. I'm not sure exactly what or who the police have provided access to these cameras, but it's at their discretion. So our goal is to have people being able to view the cameras as needed in whatever function, or role that they play. But in general, it's been primarily the police department who's had access, but those permissions can be shared at their discretion.
Very good. Commissioner Mason?
With regard to storing the media, how long are we holding on to that, to the storage, and is there a fee for storing media from the cameras?
So I think,
don't know.
yeah, it's been a couple of years since the Port Authority, the streets department and IT have kind of taken over those roles. The city, I believe, has agreements with the software vendor, which is called Genetec. It's the platform that is used by a lot of large cities, whereby the cameras can be viewed through an internet connection as long as you have the IP address of the cameras, or you use the software that specifically gives permission on a camera by camera basis to a user. So that video is retained for, at least this was a couple of years ago, I'm not sure if it's the same length of time today, but for 30 days, and then it's automatically overwritten. So the file servers, years ago with our last grant, we purchased some very large file servers that can store the video images for up to 30 days. And then it just automatically gets deleted and overwritten by newer video based when that time expires. So I believe there is probably a fee that the city is paying as a part of a broad package, but I don't think the Port Authority has been asked to contribute to that at this point.
And to Rob, to your point, I don't have an issue with GRG having access to the feed from the 19 cameras that we're installing, I think we all benefit from having more eyes on the river if someone's willing to undertake that responsibility. Is there an
Agreed.
issue there? Is there anything that we need to put in this resolution if we wish to, if the other commissioners wish to also grant that access?
We could, put that in the resolution. If we were to get the grant, we would bring the funding agreement, and then perhaps in the funding agreement, that those kinds of permissions and fees would be spelled out.
Okay, yeah, well, that's a good point. We're still just looking to apply for the grant. Well, yeah, I do understand. I think the whole goal here is to get more eyes on the river. So I'd rather be more inclusive than exclusive in that regard. Especially since we don't have assurances that the real time is monitoring those cameras for us.
I was just wondering, sometimes people are not aware of a problem until way after the fact. Would there be a way to increase our server storage, and people who would need that media, do they understand that there's only a 30-day period?
You know, I don't know if, I mean, anybody that has access to those cameras, I think would be aware of the 30-day expiration date, so to speak. As far as other, you know, like the general public, or like the press, for example, I mean, they would have to go through some sort of process, I guess, but as part of if you have some sort of agreement to monitor, I'm sure the conditions would be spelled out of that monitoring, of your monitoring ability.
I don't think the 30-day expiration has been a problem to date. The detectives at St. Louis Police Department are well aware of the cameras. They've been used a number of times when there have been incidents, shootings, and other types of activities on the riverfront. So they can, you know, literally within a day or two, they're viewing the cameras. I've seen a number of incidents myself when I had remote access at one time to the cameras. So they're very much aware of the tool, and it's utilized frequently as needed. But I don't think at this point 30 days has been a problem.
Very good. Are there any other questions for Susan or Rob? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 PT 14.
So move.
Second.
Is there a request for previous roll?
Previous roll.
Been properly moved and seconded with a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, we're moving on to resolution 23 PT 15, approving a 5-year option extension request from GRG.
Great Rivers Greenway has a swath of a riverfront bike trail on either side of the Mary Meacham Freedom Crossing location, which there's an old building that was an old Army Corps building that they've renovated, and they have, you know, school children come in, they have public events. In fact, they have one coming up this October. And so they lease those grounds from us under that building, and along the water's edge, there are steps down to the river for people to see where Mary Meacham actually crossed the river. And so the lease with them started 10 years ago. It's for $1. There's an ordinance that specifies minimum lease rate, which is considerably higher than $1, but the original lease allowed GRD to have that lease for $1 because they're a Parks and Recreation entity, and the idea was to help them get people to come to that site and to have various events there. So we are proposing they have asked for their first 5-year extension. We're proposing to give it to them at the same $1 a year rate. So that's the resolution before you.
Very good. Yeah, I remember this was a good project and I think a good partnership uh, for the Mary Meacham Freedom Crossing along with GRG. Any questions for Susan on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 PT 15.
So moved, Alderman Cone.
Second, previous motion, roll.
And properly moved and seconded with the request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Moving on to resolution 23 PT 16, adopting the pre-qualified list of engineering and surveying professional services firms. Who's going to walk us through that?
Every few years, SLDC generates a new list of pre-qualified engineers for assorted projects. And the Port Authority did the same thing a few years ago, expressly looking for lawyers, engineers, and development companies, property development companies that understand Riverside properties and leases and things like that. And so both SLDC's list and our list were about 4 or 5 years old. And so SLDC did a new one, and we asked them to include marine abilities, marine qualifications, which they did. And so, as you can see on the second page, the third page of your of the resolution, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pre-qualified engineers now who have express experience with river, what the river does, what the river shore side looks like, how to do leases, whatever we need in that regard for engineering and land surveying, we have now on this list. And so our request before you is to allow us to adopt that list as the Port Authority's list. So SLDC has already adopted it. They did a qualifications-based search. I think we got 16 applicants, I think. And we had a selection committee, went through them, and the other types of engineers are also listed on this page. So our request is to be allowed to adopt this Port Authority pre-qualified list as well.
And the way this works is that for anything less than 20,000, if they're on the pre-qualified list and the staff can engage them, but if it's for a contract for in excess of 20,000, then it needs to be brought to this board, correct?
Any contract we have, we would bring to the board. My understanding, though, is that the $20,000 limit allows us to proceed without. I'm going to ask James to be more specific.
Yeah, this is analogous to the non-professional services procurement policy that the Port Authority previously adopted. Essentially, contracts for small projects that are under 20,000, the executive director has a delegated authority to execute. They'll still be procured consistent with the state's requirement with the qualification-based selection procedure. Then any contracts that exceed $20,000 per year will be brought back to the board for review and approval prior to execution.
Very good. Any questions for Susan or James on this resolution?
I just want to bring to your attention that my son works for CDG Engineers. I don't know if that's a conflict or will be a future conflict, but he just recently got a job there.
I'll let Mr. Morrow weigh in on that.
Yeah, out of an abundance of caution, I might recommend that Commissioner Mason abstain from the vote adopting this particular list.
Anything else on this resolution? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 PT 16.
So moved, Alderman Cone.
Second,
And properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kay,
aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Abstain.
Commissioner Cone,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. And the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Moving on to 23 PT 17, approving first option extension for SEF Lewis and Clark. Susan, you gonna walk us through that, please?
Yes, SCF Lewis and Clark, excuse me, Terminals is the operator of the Municipal River Terminal. And a few years ago, they had $2 million worth of steel coil stored at the warehouse at the Municipal River Terminal, and they lost it in a flood. And so they came to us and expressing an interest in number 5 Clinton. So we'd had a number of attempts to lease that building. We've gone through 2, we had a tenant failed, then we had some negotiations. We put another RFP out and SCF applied. They were the only proposer. So we negotiated a lease with them and we structured it to run concurrently with their Municipal River Terminal lease. So the first term was, the initial period was 2 years and 7 months. And we agreed in the lease that the second term would be a mutually agreeable 7-year extension. That would align them with the Municipal River Terminal lease. And that building has been very helpful to them because it's on the dry side of the flood wall. So they have a lot of stuff stored in there that they don't have to worry about losing to any kind of rising waters. And it's in their lease that they pay a match if we get a grant. So we put in a new floor that's a 14-inch slab concrete floor. Most of the floor prior was either asphalt or just dirt. And so that's enabled them to attract a lot of new customers that have very heavy cargo. And that cargo comes across the dock, so it enhances our tonnage royalty. So when we negotiated this lease with them, we spelled out the lease rate for the full total length of this lease. So with the proposal, the resolution before you is we'd like to mutually agreeably extend the 7-year term at the rate spelled out in the original lease.
Very good. Any questions for Susan on this resolution? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 PT 17.
So moved.
So moved, Alderman Cone.
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kay,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Cone,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. Motion passes and the resolution is approved. Do we have anything in open agenda?
I don't.
Well, very good. I think our next meeting is scheduled for June 8. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you.